Hello, welcome to this live. If you're watching live or on the replay, I am delighted that you are here. I'm back in the flow now of doing these lives. I'm really enjoying them. I hope you're finding them useful. And today I am talking about negotiation. And firstly, having a realization of how far I've come with it. So to give a bit of context and a bit of a backstory, I came to London, aged 18, training to be an actor. And I didn't know that you could do what you loved and make money. So already I had this starving artist mentality. I also had a lot of northern humility. I was just so grateful to be in the room, and I just wanted to not ask too many questions, almost not make my presence known, because I just felt like I spent all of my childhood trying to get somewhere, and then I got somewhere and I was just trying to stay somewhere. And so what that looked and felt like was me always over delivering and undercharging, me being really uncomfortable about talking about money, me taking the bare minimum, me again just being really grateful to be there, me not feeling like I could be honest and clear in my requests. I always came out of situations, certainly in the early days, feeling a little bit like, yeah, it was all right. It never quite felt like it had that reciprocity. And I have learned many of those lessons over the last 25 years. And some of them I have had to learn 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. But I've learned them now. And I'm sure there'll be many more as I go through my career. On the train on Sunday, we were coming back from being away for the weekend. And the train length was 51 minutes. And I know that because I had 2 very tired children on the train. And I think it was about 14 stops because, you know, when you've got tired and emotional children, you got to be clear with what this thing is. And so we can all remain calm and centered and stable in it. So it was 51 minutes. And this person got on the train at the same stop as us. We were the first stop and we were the second to last. We got off at Vauxhall because I just love Vauxhall, connects to the Victoria line. If you know, you know. She immediately got on the phone, and you know those people, if you've traveled a lot on trains, you know those people who get on the phone and immediately you know you are going to hear their conversation throughout your journey, and you're going to hear every single detail because they have no volume control. They also love to be the talker. They're not really listening. So we're hearing all this side of the story. So it began, of course. Hi, it's me. I'm on the train. If I cut out, I'm going to give you a call back. Well, of course she did. And then it started again. And she probably had, I think she spoke to maybe 5 people in the course of this. So there was a lot of repeating as well. And it seemed she was a musician and she was trying to, or there had been some kind of request. She was so kind of going round and round the houses that I wasn't quite sure what it was. And obviously I was only hearing one side of the conversation. And also I should say, I really don't like doing this to another woman, but I'm using her as an example because I want us all to be better in this situation. And I thought hard about whether I was going to share the story because I was like, I don't want people to go, yeah, I thought Nicky was like a girl's girl. I am a girl's girl. And in that way of being, I want all the girls to do all the great things as well. So anyway, what seemed to have occurred was that she was in a group. I think they were violinists, and whatever the offer was, they wanted a cellist as well. And they also seemed to want different things. I don't know if they were doing a wedding or an event or something like that. And the person who was trying to book them was asking for various situations. And this woman was totally flummoxed and discombobulated by this situation. Now, I have no context. I don't know who she is or what she's all about, but it was like the world was ending. And not just ending, but she was just quite mad about it. She was just like, I can't believe it, and they want this, and I don't know how it's going to work, and oh my goodness. And it was going round and round and round. And so I want to give you some takeaways today in terms of how you deal with this, because sometimes if you work for yourself, if you're a freelancer, if you have a personal brand, if you have a small business, sometimes you will have that offer that will land in your inbox, and there are some parts of it that are very familiar, that are in keeping with what you do. And then there may be a few like curveballs in there as well, and you're thinking, okay, how does this land? This needs a bit of work. What for me was really obvious, first and foremost, was that she was very rigid about her circumstances and hadn't kind of considered what other opportunities could come into play here. Because the nature of what this request was, for me, just listening in, and we all were, all four of us, listening in, it was very reasonable. It sounded like, you know, if you're a violinist, you're probably going to know some cellists. That's just the way that it goes. And what also almost hadn't been accounted for was it felt like she didn't really know her offer. And all she seemed to have focused on was the fact that she was a violinist. And I think that one of the things that happens so often is that people don't have a baseline. They are waiting until the offer comes in, and then it's like, right, okay, I'm now going to do the negotiation. And this person might have been like, can I book you for the next day? If you are in a quartet, for example, with other violinists and another cellist, that is a lot of negotiation to do when that call has come in. And so I really encourage you right now to, if you haven't already, really think about what your offer is, what you charge for an hour, what you charge in certain circumstances, what your base rate is, what are the added extras, like what is your price menu? And even if you don't want to decide on an exact price and it is a little bit bespoke in terms of how you build the package, at least have a baseline for you of what is going to be required here. I see this a lot in terms of speaking or somebody being asked to do a workshop or something like that. It gets very like, oh my goodness, I don't know what to charge. I don't know where to start with this. We'll start with what feels good for you. Like the supermodels of the 90s said, you know, I'm not getting out of bed for less than 10 grand. My rate is a little bit lower than that, but maybe I should raise it, because to get out of bed in these June times when it is miserable outside, maybe I should be up in my rate. But all of this is your responsibility first. You've got to lock in and know what your offer is. And it felt to me that this quartet of violinists hadn't done that yet. They hadn't been in the conversation. They hadn't done that logistics of like, how far would we travel? Or that thing of like, we would travel, but only if it was paid this. This is really important to say, especially in a cost of living crisis, especially when the chat around the economy is really bleak at the moment. People have money to spend, loads of it. Actually, some people have no budget. They just want the thing. So please bear that in mind when you are pricing. Yes, they might haggle. Yes, they might negotiate. Yes, they might want to get the best price possible, but there's a budget. I also was an agent for 6 years, and when we did a couple of deals internationally, when those people in Hollywood want the person, they want to move, and they start saying, oh no, that would never be possible, and then in the end they know that this is the person for the job, you would be amazed how quickly that deal changes to move in the direction of that person. So what I never want you to do is to keep going lower and lower yourself, because I'm going to assume that your base is not that high to begin with. You might be undercharging, you might be over delivering. Just saying. The second thing that I noticed was that this customer had all of the demands. It sounded like she knew exactly what she wanted. She had a vision, she had a thing, and all she was looking for was the price. Like, give me the price. And I look at our house right now, you know, some of the alterations that we've done to it, some of the things that we want to do in the future. I want to know what these things are going to cost. I really do, because when I have that price, yes, sometimes you get those prices back and you're like, oh wow, that is way more expensive than I thought. But sometimes it's way more doable. And sometimes it's like, this is good to know right now, because then I know what to do to make this happen. I know what I'm aiming for. I know what I'm looking for. And what was happening was that these people were almost outraged that this person had this vision, had this idea that they wanted a cellist. And it's like, whoa, but this doesn't fit in with what we've done. I think it's really important that you keep having a big vision for yourself, because there will be some moments, and I've had it in my own personal brand, where I was selling myself short. I was just doing workshops online, you know, for 20 quid or something like that in the very beginning. And then I noticed somebody who was going to say, actually, can you come to our organization for the whole day? And we're going to pay you a 4 or 5 figure sum. Oh, yes. That would work very nicely, actually. So the thing with this situation is that, yes, I could see why this person is thinking, oh, she's so demanding and she's got all these ideas and vision. But it is your job to give the context of your industry and price it and be fair and give clarity, give context, and really talk it through business owner to business owner. Because there are so many things that I know about, and there are so many things I absolutely have no idea on. And so that's how we get better in these situations. This is what it's all about. Like when I had to hire a structural engineer when we were moving into this house, I didn't know what I was looking for. I didn't know what level that I needed. I had never lived in an Edwardian house before. I didn't know anything about it. And so this is a really important moment for these two businesses, these two entities to come together and begin that conversation. Number 3, everything about this person was emotionally charged. Their stress was leading the way. And I get it. If you haven't done something before, if there's a tight deadline, if you have many moving parts to the situation, it can be stressful. I am not undermining that. And you have to know how to work with your own stress, because you have to know in that negotiation how to play that cool, calm, and collected version of you. And that can be difficult. And that can play a little bit with yourself in terms of you saying, oh, I don't know if it feels authentic then, because I am stressed. Like, can I be the true version of myself? Not everybody needs to know everything about you. And you as a personal brand, understanding how to put a game face on. And again, this is not you being like a fake version of yourself, but it's business. And it's you knowing that nobody really cares about all of the things. They want to know if you're available. When I was hiring this structural engineer, for example, I was on a really tight deadline. And we also couldn't proceed with our purchase unless we had this locked in, unless the price and the timeline was going to work. And so if this person was saying to me, I'm really tired and exhausted at the moment, I would feel sad for that person. Like, I know that feeling, what it's like to be tired and exhausted. And I want to know in that moment if they can do the job. I also would care enough to go, but were you all right? And have you got good people around you? Like, I care on a human level. And in this moment, it's about that transaction. So this person was going on to all these different phone calls and be like, oh, I can't believe it. This person is doing this. And what are we going to do? And it was like whipping and whipping and whipping and spiraling and spiraling. And by the time she got on the call with a fifth person, I thought, we're in a different circumstance now. We're in a different business deal. So it's really important to manage yourself in that transaction and to take yourself back and to check in and make sure that you're doing what you need to do in the moment. And really work out where you're going to put your energy and your efforts. And really know that you can say less. You don't have to do all of the things. You don't have to give the full explanation. You don't have to write 5 paragraphs. You just need to say what it is. And when I heard this business leader a couple of weeks ago on a webinar say he doesn't like a whole paragraph. He doesn't like emails that have more than 1 paragraph. He wants to be able to read it and go, yes, no, no, yes, and then just quickly add the thoughts. He doesn't want a whole chapter and verse and the why and the how and how it came to be. He wants that simplicity. Now, I do think there is a place sometimes where you have to advocate for yourself, where you have to give more detail, where you have to explain things further, where you have to show exactly what you mean and why. However, I thought in these circumstances, this woman had 51 minutes of going round and round in circles and not getting anywhere. And what I wanted to do as an ex-agent and somebody who's always had an agent for 25 years is to intervene and say, what are we talking about? What's the thing? What's the deal? What are your non-negotiables? Do you want to do the job or not? And I think sometimes taking it back to those bare fundamentals of, do you want to do it? Yes or no? Yes, but. Okay, what are those buts? I only want to do it if it's this, this, and this. Okay, and those are the things that are important to you. What else needs to be in that? Oh, actually, this, this, and this. Okay, great. And what would be the nice to haves? Well, it'd be nice to have if they could do this, if they could cover the travel, if they could have somebody to meet us, if they could have a budget for X, Y, and Z, great. But they're like nice to haves, not non-negotiables. Exactly. What about the things that you definitely won't do? What's on that list? Well, I'm not going to do this. Well, I'm not going to play my violin naked. Okay, great. So when you begin to see where you are, you get to the point of the situation. And what can happen sometimes is that you get to a point in the negotiation where it doesn't work for you. And you walk away and you say, this is my line and this is what I'm willing to do and this is what I'm not willing to do. And in the moment, as a freelancer, as a creative, however you identify, that can feel scary. Because what we're taught is to go for it, to go for the exposure, to say yes. You never know what might come from it. And I would also add in there, it is okay to say no, because sometimes your no in the short term is going to allow you to say more yeses in the long term. If you start to waver on your naked violin action, and you're like, well, I'll just do this one. And then you become known as the naked violinist. It's like, well, that's what they want. And then you go, but that was the thing I really didn't want to do. And so then what might be happening later on down the line, it's harder to say no. It's harder to really go back to your baseline of what feels good for you. I would love to think about today where you need to advocate for yourself, what your lines are. What are the packages and the deals that you could put together? Could you pitch it to somebody? Are you being clear? Are you closing off opportunities because maybe you've not even thought that big for yourself? I would love to know. Also, there is a full module on your speaking admin, logistics, putting together a deal, negotiation, contracts, payment, usage, all of that inside Speak Up. So if you know you want to go out into the world, maybe you want to be booked on panels or podcasts or a keynote or do a corporate day, whatever it might be, that's going to be a really great one for you. It will allow you to layer in a deal that feels comfortable, so you can ask the right questions, so you can feel informed, so you can have that sense of, yes, this feels good to me. If you are not following along, if you haven't followed along on the longer channel version, the one that doesn't start with U but a Y, do that. I would love to see you there. Lots of love. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you tomorrow.